afternoon and welcome to Mosport Park near Bowmanville, Ontario for the 1988 season opener of the Rothmans Porsche Turbo Cup. Hello, I'm Joe Tilley at the first of 8 Porsche Turbo Cup races we'll be bringing to you each week this season. And with me is a man who's very familiar to auto racing fans, Pat Gonzalez. Pat?
Well, Joe, I think we've got one of the most competitive and hotly contested series coming up this year in the Rothmans Porsche Turbo Cup. And there are really a number of reasons for that. First of all, the cars are truly race cars. They've been prepared over in Germany. They've come here to Canada. About 38 of them will make their way to the racetracks throughout the year. They have been running on slick tires here in practice. They're already about 10 seconds a lap faster than they were last year. These cars are going to be racing for the next 3 years, and the purse money over those 3 years totals some $1,350,000. So it's going to be close, it's going to be competitive, and I think the drivers in the series this year are the best we've ever had.
All right, let's take a look at the places we'll be running the Rothmans Porsche Turbo Cup Series this year. Mosport Park is the opener, followed by a race in the streets at Niagara Falls, New York. Then it's on to Mont-Tremblant in Quebec. The fourth event is back at Mosport, then the new Shannonville Motorsports Circuit, and then the series alternates between Mont-Tremblant and here at Mosport, with the final event scheduled for Le Circuit, Mont-Tremblant. And to tell us about these brand new Porsches, here's Pat Gonzalez.
This is Case Neerop's Porsche 944 Turbo race car. Gone from the street version are some of the creature comforts, such as air conditioning, power windows, and power steering. But in their place, safety and performance standards have been pushed to the limits of today's automotive technology. Now let's take a look inside the car. You'll notice the integral roll cage. It'll protect the driver in the case of a crash. 2 very important buttons up here. This one operates a fire extinguisher system that'll deploy both in the car to protect the driver and in the engine compartment. This here is a kill switch. It'll completely shut off the engine in case of a crash. Racing seat, a very important piece of equipment, a 6-point safety harness to strap the driver in, and the window net that'll prevent arms from flying out in case of a rollover. That's what it looks like inside the cockpit of the Turbo 944. Let's have a look under the engine compartment. The turbocharged Porsche 944 engine in this year's race car will give the driver some 100 more horsepower to work with on the racetrack. Here at Mosport, that'll translate into lap times. It'll be some 10 seconds a lap faster than they were a year ago in the old non-turbocharged 944s. The cars were all race prepared over in Germany at Porsche's Research and Development Factory. Then they were shipped here to Canada with the engine sealed, so the crews aren't allowed to go inside the engine and make any modifications. With the cars so equally matched, it'll become a true test of driver ability and the skill of the crews to get these cars dialed in to the various racetracks we'll be running on in this year's Rothmans Porsche Turbo Cup Series.
Thanks, Pat. We're looking now at Mosport from our camera in the Fuji blimp, piloted by Captain Trevor Hunt. And here's an outline of this challenging circuit. Our Rothmans Porsche Turbo Cup drivers are going to have their hands full, especially at these points where we're going to take a driver's view. Turn 1, especially at the start, it's a fast right-hander, slightly downhill, and 26 cars won't fit all at once. A short chute to turn 2, it's blind, you can't see where you're going until this point. And don't forget, these drivers are now at 160 kilometers down this hill as they're coaxing these 944s to the second apex at the bottom.
Turn 3 is a fast right with a bit of a bump just at the approach to the apex. Out of 3 and accelerating hard to turn 4. Again, a blind downhill left-hander to here, Moss Corner. Actually 2 turns, 5A and 5B. Hard braking to slow the car for this difficult combination that is the critical point on this circuit. That's because it's here that these Porsches hit the long back straight. Without the fastest exit from 5A and B possible, a driver has an immediate handicap in the drag race up the Andretti back straightaway to turn 8.
Turn 8 is another fast right-hander before the quick left to turn 9 and the very tight turn 10 onto pit straight. You've seen the track and we've had an inside look at the cars. They're lining up to go racing. We'll be back in a moment for the start of the Rothmans Porsche Turbo Cup from Mosport. Welcome back to Mosport Park for round 1 of the Rothmans Porsche Turbo Cup Series. Aerial shots of today's racing are courtesy of Fujifilm. The cars are moving onto the track for the warm-up lap. Let's take a look at how they qualified. Here's Pat Gonzalez with the starting grid.
Thanks, Joe. 26 Porsche 944 turbos will start here on the front row. It's Scott Goodyear, who was third a year ago in the series, and the defending champion, Richard Spinard. In row 2, it's Case Nierop in car number 3, and beside him, the veteran Ludwig Heimrath, who is no stranger to driving any kind of a car here at Mosport. Cam Champion starts in row 3, along with rookie Richard Laporte of Montreal. He'll be one of the rookies in this year's series.
There's a pace car leading the field on this warm-up lap, and there's a look at how the rest of the drivers qualify. Pat, many of the starters today are new to the Rothmans Porsche series.
That's right, Joe. A quick glance, I see 11 rookie drivers. Laporte, Bienvenu, Boyer, Powell, Schill, Liliev, Tennyson, Hornbostel, Demarais, Seabrook, and Campbell. Now, most of these men have enjoyed a great deal of success in other forms of racing, including Formula 2000 and endurance.
The cars are moving around to the front straight, and the pace car has pulled off. We have 6 onboard Sony Handycam cameras, and there's a view from Richard Spinard's Porsche with Goodyear just to the right. Here's Pat with the race.
All eyes focused on the starter stand. There's the green flag. It'll be Goodyear and Spinard side by side down to the bottom in turn 1. They're still running door handle to door handle through turn 1. Neither driver wanting to budge an inch, and they're still side by side as they head up the short chute to turn number 2. Joe Tilley, what a start here to this event.
It certainly is. We know it's going to be a fantastic series this year, Pat. These new turbos make these cars just a wee bit faster, and right now we're going to see how fast those cars go on the Mosport track.
On to turn number 3, Goodyear takes the lead. There's the view of Richard Spinard as he heads down through turn number 4, down the chute to Moss Corner. He closes right up on Goodyear, and for a moment it looked as though he's looking to the inside for a pass. Decides to follow Goodyear here through 5B. Up the back straightaway for the first time. It is Goodyear leading, Spinard in second, and there is Norman Boyer in car number 86. He has spun off the track here in turn 3.
We didn't see what happened, but it seems Boyer has just gone off and hit the wall on the fast right-hander.
Scott Goodyear leads it to the S's here on lap 1. Spinard looks to the inside, and they run just a half a car length apart. Bit of a gap back to third. It's Case Nierop. You're aboard Richard Spinard's car as he sees nothing but the back Pop 84 side. He is in car number 9. Pop 84, the sponsor on Goodyear's car this year, and Spinard trying to chase him down as they come up here to complete lap number 1. Goodyear, followed by Spinard, Case Nierop running third. Ludwig Heimrath is fourth, and back in fifth is Stéphane Prou. There are the leaders, and there's number 16, Jacques Liliev of Mont-Joli, Quebec. He has spun in turn number 1. Liliev doing a good job of keeping it off the guardrail. Inside Richard Spinard's car as he tries to chase down Scott Goodyear coming off at turn number 2. Spinard makes a look to the inside into turn 3, and he's taken over the lead. What a move by Spinard there, Joe Tilley.
It certainly was a gutsy move, and Spinard and Goodyear have had many battles. Last year they had some dandies, and we're looking forward to more this year.
There is Case Nierop. He has got the best seat in the house as he watches Spinard and Goodyear up ahead of him as they come flying down that blind left-hander into the chute into Moss Corner.
There's Spinard and Goodyear. Stéphane Prou in 5th behind Nierop and Heimrath. I asked Stéphane if he thinks he has a reputation for being an aggressive driver.
I don't think so. I will certainly try a few things. You know, if you don't try, you don't get anything. And okay, sometime I've probably got sideways for a bit, but you got to try things to make it work. And I only had 1 qualification yesterday, so I had to go for it. And I think overall came up pretty good. I did the 4th best time yesterday. Pretty much everyone else went slower. So of course, sometimes you do get sideways, but that's the name of the game. You got to work the car up, and it's not as easy as in a 2000 for getting the car not sideways. So we'll see.
And this is what Rick Bye sees as he heads up the back straight in his Reebok Porsche Agincourt Auto House car. Rick is currently in 6th place.
It's single file up the back straightaway here at Mosport. The drivers trying to pick up the draft off of each other. There is Prou running just a few car lengths ahead of Rick Bye, and side by side for the lead into turn 8. It is Richard Spinard, followed by Scott Goodyear in 2nd. Case Nierop just a few car lengths back there in 3rd. Then it's Ludwig Heimrath 4th, Prou 5th, and then in the Reebok car there, Rick Bye.
It's a hot day as they head into the pit straight, Pat. I'm sure some of these drivers will have some trouble with traction as this race progresses.
There you can see a puff of dust as Spinard uses all of the racetrack and then some on exiting turn 10. They're across the line, completing another lap down into turn 1. Spenard, your leader. Goodyear in second. You're aboard Stefan Pru's car as he closes here on Ludwig Heimrath. Pru getting a good drive off the turn, pulls alongside. He'll pick up that 4th place position. And here's Rick Bye coming through to the inside. He will push Ludwig Heimrath back into the 6th place spot.
What a move by Stefan Pru and Rick Bye as they round out the top 5. In 6th spot, it's Ludwig Heimrath, followed by Richard Laporte in 7th, Jacques Bienvenu in 8th, Chris Gleason, and then Cam Champion.
Great racing further back in the pack. That is the race for 16th through 22nd positions out of turn 10. It is Reinhold Schill in the red car. Right behind him in the black and yellow automobile is Brian Malcolm. And then Ali Hornbustle. There's Malcolm trying to make a move up on a Schill. He'll pull almost alongside as they head through the left-hander. And some great racing back there in the pack, Joe.
Some great shots from our Fuji blimp. Back to the leaders now. Here's a shot from Rick Bye's car. He's currently in 5th spot.
Closing on Stefan Pru. You can see just how close the drivers are running as they head down under the bridge into the chute heading for Moss Corner. There's your leader, Richard Spenard, in that Dayglow orange and black Motormaster sponsored car. Then Case Nierop, Pru running back and forth, and Rick Bye in the Reebok car. They have really tightened it up. That race for 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Single file up the straightaway. Here is your leader, Richard Spenard, and Goodyear trying to draft him on the straightaway. Goodyear pulls up alongside, and he will take the lead. Richard Spenard not able to hang on to it on the straightaway as Goodyear uses the draft to slingshot around Spenard. He'll try it down to the inside into the S's, but Goodyear will hold him off. What we talked about, the draft here at Mosport, very evident in that passing maneuver by Scott Goodyear. Back through the S's, Spenard will close to within just 1 car length as they come out of turn 10 and onto the front straightaway. There you can see the gap back to Case Nierop in 3rd, Pru, and then Rick Bye.
That's Heimrath in 6th, followed closely by Laporte. Back in the pack now, that's Ray David and Uli Beery side by side. David spins, his wheels are all locked. Pat, he seems to be one of the drivers that turns off the anti-lock braking system in his Porsche. Ted Powell, number 35 in the Fuji Porsche, has gone off to avoid an incident. Both drivers have restarted. They're back in 14th and 15th spots.
The speeds these cars are reaching this year, together with the draft on the back straightaway, pulling them even faster, is proving a real challenge for these drivers. You see Spenard right on Goodyear's tail out of turn 5 to try and get his wind-braking advantage. I asked Scott Goodyear about the effect of the draft earlier today.
I think it's very, very important. Yesterday when we got our 1 good lap for qualifying, we actually had 2 excellent drafts coming up the back straight, and the car gets a different feel to it. It just gets that hum and that vibration, and you know you're on a good lap, and you just have to complete 8, 9, and 10 to make the sequence good and to get that good lap in. So drafting is going to be very important. I think we're going to be lapping cars within about 5 to 7 laps, so overall it could play a big part in the race.
You're with Richard Laporte, the 7th place driver, as he makes a bid here now for the 6th place position. That is Ludwig Heimrath that he's drafting off of on the back straightaway. There's Heimrath checking his rear view mirror and fearing the inevitable. The bid by Laporte for 6th. Laporte up to the outside into the S's. Laporte runs off the racetrack. Those Pirelli tires don't work quite as well in the grass here at Mosport. He'll try to get it back onto the racetrack, and Laporte does a nice job of preventing the car from spinning. He will run back in, I believe, about 11th place as he will follow David Deacon through turn number 9. But what a move by Laporte. It almost worked, but not quite. Back with the leaders. There is Scott Goodyear, followed by Spenard, Nierop, Pru, and then Rick Bye.
In 6th spot, Ludwig Heimrath, followed by Chris Gleason, Jacques Bienvenu, Cam Champion, and David Deacon. We'll be back with more of the Rothmans Porsche Turbo Cup from Mosport Park right after this. Welcome back to Mosport. I'm Joe Tilley with Pat Gonzalez as we see Richard Spenard chasing Scott Goodyear for the lead in this first Rothmans Porsche Turbo Cup race of 1988. This is like a replay of the 1987 series, Pat, when these two battled all year long for that front position.
Joe Spenard is certainly not giving up, but he's also aware that right behind him are Case Nierop, his Motormaster teammates Stefan Pru and Rick Bye, any of whom could capitalize on a mistake by the leaders. Here is Goodyear out of turn 10. Spenard just a car length back. Case Nierop in 3rd. Pru pushing very hard in that 4th place position. Then Rick Bye in 5th. That is a great race here for third, going down to the bottom of turn one. Nierop, the 1986 champion in the Poly Voltec Porsche, really has his hands full with the hard-charging Stefan Prue. And boy, has he adjusted quickly coming out of Formula 2000 racing a year ago. Through turn two, at the bottom of two, it is still number 3, Case Nierop, holding on to that third-place position. And there, Prue, look to the inside. Rick By in the Reebok car back in the 5th place spot. Prue and Case Nierop really going at each other. They're back with the leaders. Scott Goodyear, followed by Richard Spenard through Moss Corner. Then comes that ferocious battle for the 3rd place spot between Nierop, 65 Prue, and Rick By in the yellow Reebok Porsche.
And Prue's off the track. He may be pushing that a little bit too hard. Rick By sitting back, maybe waiting for an opportunity, something to happen in front of him.
Prue continues to hold out of that 4th place position. He did not lose much of a ground with that mistake, running a little bit wide coming out of that turn. And here on the straightaway, By trying to pick up the draft of that bright Dayglow orange and black Motormaster Porsche, but he's not able to reel him in. Back with the leaders, Goodyear, followed by Spenard. Then it is Case Nierop, followed by Prue, Rick By, and then back in 6th, the white car there is Ludwig Heimrath. Through the S's here at Mosport, we have got a tremendous race here for third.
There's that battle between Ted Powell and Ray David as they crest the hill off the back straight and into turn 8. Both these drivers have a real war going on as they continue to swap positions.
Richard Spenard still chasing Scott Goodyear. It seems he can stay with Scott, but just can't power by. I asked Spenard earlier if starting second was a disappointment in this first race.
Well, yes and no. It's not because you qualify second, you're losing the race. And a little bit disappointed. I'm second, but 1/6 of a second behind Scott. So that's a bit, unnerving. I would have liked to be second or first, but second with less difference. But we'll see. I think we find a few things with the engine. I think we got some more power, which I think I was lacking compared to Scott. But Scott's going to be very difficult to beat. He has tested a lot. He's not racing Indy this year, so he's fully concentrated on that series. And obviously, he's going to be the man to beat this weekend or this season. But I'm confident. I'm not throwing the towel because I qualified second. I'm confident that from second or third or fourth position, you can win a race.
Well, there's the 3rd place man, Case Nierop, followed by Stefan Prue. And Nierop really has his hands full with this hard-charging rookie driver. You can see Prue going up onto the speed curbing at the exit of turn 1. Drivers brake. You're aboard Stefan Prue's car through turn 2. You can see the cars being moved around there by the bumpiness of the track on the inside. Prue again will try to the inside of Nierop into turn 3, and Stefan Prue has picked up that 3rd place position. He drove it hard off of turn 2 and had the momentum going into 3 and was able to sneak through on the inside. Stefan Prue, now your 3rd place driver, back with the leader, Scott Goodyear, and here's Spenard to the inside in Moss, and Goodyear will shut the door.
Spenard has been very fast through the corners. He's trying to take advantage of that. Scott Goodyear seems to be the better driver through the straightaway.
Scott Goodyear, your leader. Richard Spenard right there in 2nd place. Spenard trying to draft off of Goodyear as they head up the back straightaway. There you can see the interval back to Stefan Prue in 3rd, Case Nierop in the 4th place spot, and then Rick By in 5th. The 6th place driver is Ludwig Heimrath, and he is being caught by a pack of cars. Back with the leaders, Scott Goodyear, Richard Spenard. 3 car lengths is all that separates the front-running 2 drivers as they take it through the S's here at Mosport. Goodyear, your leader, coming through turn 10 onto the front straightaway, and Spenard has closed it back up again. Stefan Prue, followed by Case Nierop and Rick By. They're your leaders back down through turn 1, and Spenard is really pushing hard here through turns 1, 2, 3, and 4. Goodyear again appears to have the advantage on the back straightaway. You're with Richard Spenard as he makes a bid for the lead into turn 2. Goodyear in the Pop 84 Porsche, right in front of Spenard, who's just 1 car length away. Spenard into turn number 3, tries it on the inside of Goodyear. Richard Spenard will take the lead.
That's exactly the same passing move that Spenard's partner, Stefan Prue, put on Nierop in the last lap. It's almost as if the 2 of them have been practicing that move.
Spenard, who has been very quick, as we were mentioning, through turns 1, 2, 3, and 4, pushing hard now as Goodyear will close, coming down the chute into Moss Corner. Goodyear has been the faster driver up the back straightaway. He's right to within a car length of Spenard, and he'll try to draft him as they head up the back straightaway. We still have that outstanding race going on for the 3rd place position. Stefan Prue just ahead of Case Nierop and Rick By. Here are your leaders. Richard Spenard, Scott Goodyear. They've been going at it since the opening lap. Over the top of the hill into turn 8. Here is Goodyear up on the outside. Spenard will hold him off through turn 8. These two drivers are really pushing each other. They're at the limit as they come through turn number 9. Sliding the car through the left-hander. Spinard pulls a couple of car lengths ahead, but here Goodyear will close it back up as they come on the front straightaway. Prue in third, then it's Nierop fourth, and Rick By back in the 5th place spot. And again, the drivers put a couple of wheels off there exiting turn 10. You're with Case Nierop as he tries to retake that 3rd place position. Stefan Prue just ahead of him out of turn number 1, heading up to 2. And Prue has really done a job here.
There's number 5, Richard Laporte, going around corner 1 and gaining back positions after his off-road excursion. He's now in 7th, just behind Heimrath and ahead of Montreal Jacques Bienvenu. You're watching the Rothmans Porsche Turbo Cup from Mosport Park. Welcome back to Mosport Park in the first round of the Rothmans Porsche Turbo Cup. Richard Spinard is leading top qualifier Scott Goodyear with only 2 laps left to go. 3rd is Stefan Prue looking for some room as Case Nierop in 4th. And 5th is Rick By in the Reebok Porsche.
That is an incredible race for 3rd place. They're just as close as they were here a lap ago. As up the back straightaway, Scott Goodyear will try to draft off of Richard Spinard. He pulls up alongside and Goodyear takes the lead. Scott Goodyear has gone around Richard Spinard, and there is Spinard. You can see the hand off the steering wheel. The frustration of just not being able to stay with Goodyear as they ran side by side up the straightaway. Into turn 8, it is Goodyear by just a car length. Spinard trying to close it back up as they run it through the S's, and they'll be getting the last lap indication here the next time across the start-finish line. Into turn number 8. That race further back, that is Heimrath in 6th, followed by Laporte 7th. 89 is Jacques Bienvenu in the Dicom Express car, followed by Gleason, then Camp Champion, and the last yellow car there is David Deacon. Heimrath really has his hands full here with Laporte, followed by Jacques Bienvenu.
There's a dog on the track in turn 5. Hornbostel and Schill collide. As their attention is diverted, they seem to be continuing, but that dog has just run across the track.
There is the little canine. He has had enough of this kind of action. He'll go exit stage right over the Armco. Back to the leader, Scott Goodyear. Into Moss Corner. Goodyear has stretched it out here now by about 4 or 5 car lengths. Spinard is going to have a real problem catching the draft as they exit 5B and up the back straightaway now for the final time. There is Stefan Prue in 3rd, Nierop 4th, and Rick By in 5th. And boy, have they closed that battle up. There is Heimrath trying to hold off Laporte and Bienvenu. This is a great race now for the 7th place position. We've got about 6 cars all tied together as they run it up the back straightaway. There is your leader, Scott Goodyear, into the S's now for the final time. Spinard is just too far back. I don't think he'll have another shot at Goodyear before the checkered flag. Through turn 9, Goodyear still pushing it hard. Spinard right there in 2nd, but it looks like it'll be Scott Goodyear as he brings the Pop 84 Porsche to the line. He'll take the checkered flag for the win.
What a start for these brand new Porsche 944 Turbos. Some terrific racing in the first race of the Rothmans Porsche Turbo Cup. The lead changed hands 4 times. There was great racing throughout. There's a final order for our first of 8 races with Scott Goodyear out-drafting Richard Spinard to take the prize money and the 25 points towards the Rothmans Porsche Championship.
And down on the presentation stand, Scott Goodyear is collecting his winnings. And congratulations here from team owner Hans Pfaff. Replacing the popular Silver Bowl trophy, each of the top 3 drivers this year receives a unique work of Canadian Inuit art. Making the presentation is Fred Doobie of Porsche and Harold Thompson of Rothmans. A real crowd pleaser this season opener. Of course, the champagne to cool off the drivers after some heated action. Scott Goodyear, Richard Spinard, and Stefan Prue. Here's Joe Tilley with the wrap-up.
A tremendous start to the Rothmans Porsche Turbo Cup. Scott Goodyear wins a tremendous battle over Richard Spinard, the first of many battles we expect between those 2 great drivers. When we join you next time, we'll be on the streets of Niagara Falls, New York for race number 2. Until then, I'm Joe Tilley for Pat Gonzalez. Good afternoon.